Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank you and the ranking member for having this hearing. I think it's a really important hearing. I got to be honest with you. The way I see the situation on PBMs is I don't know why the hell they even exist. Now, they were set up for all the right reasons. Going to negotiate drug prices, going to pass along benefits to the consumer. But what I see them doing in my state, I don't think the consumer gets much benefit, and they're shutting down small businesses on Main Street right and left, and those are called our local neighborhood pharmacies. So as far as holding the big pharmaceutical companies accountable, I don't see it. And the reason I don't see it is because there is no transparency in PBMs. None, zero, nada, kaput, nothing. And quite frankly, when you combine that with anti-competitive tactics, this is a recipe where the only people that win in healthcare costs are the PBMs. So, Mr. Ofterbro, tell me about some of the anti-competitive tactics that PBMs are using to squeeze small pharmacies like yours, like the one we have in my hometown, population 600, and how they're pushing you out of their network and limiting your abilities as a rural community provider.
Thank you, Senator Tester. Yes, as I stated earlier, we see every day patient steering, whether it's the use of the specialty category of medications that will steer patients into PBM-owned mail-order pharmacies, mandatory mail-order practices, just the way that we're forced to contract with PBMs, where we have absolutely zero negotiating power. These are take it or leave it contracts, and the terms and conditions are totally unbearable. The fees that I described, both the DIR and the GER, and the ones that they haven't even invented yet, they're impossible to predict, and it makes it impossible to provide the level of care that our communities deserve.
So do you have any sort of numbers or metrics on how much of the drugs that go out your shop's doors are drugs that are impacted by PBMs?
Virtually all of them.
Okay. So you get these practices, and know fully well any small business or any business, no matter what it is, if you don't turn a profit, you don't stay open. And would it be fair to say they're squeezing you to the point where your profitability is to a point where you're going to have to close your doors if we don't do something in Congress about this?
In 2022, we closed our pharmacy in the East Lake neighborhood of Seattle. It's the only pharmacy in the neighborhood, and we closed it precisely because of these retroactive fees.
I'm going to stay with you. Spread pricing. I'm interested when charging for a common generic drug, antibiotics, yeah, the list is long. Let's say we have a little pharmacy in Big Sandy, Montana, and the PBM reimburses a diabetes medication for $10. How much does the PBM then charge the insurer, could you say? So they're paying you $10.
They're paying us.
What are they charging on the other side?
I have no idea.
On generics?
I have no idea.
Okay. Would new transparency requirements, if they were implemented the way this bill intends, do you think that would put unduly burdens on you as an independent pharmacy?
Would PBM transparency put a burden on small pharmacies?
Yes, correct.
I don't believe it would put any burden on us unless, of course, the PBM uses it as a reason to extract more from pharmacies.
Which is my next question. Do you think more transparency would make medications more profitable for the patient or less?
It should make it less cost to the patient.
I've got to tell you, as these were first set up, I'm sure they were set up for the best of reasons. Mm-hmm. But anytime you have a situation where these guys can go do what they want, and a lot of the big PBMs are owned by insurance companies, I don't see where the patient's getting the benefit. In fact, I see where this has these PBMs have a tremendous potential for further drying up rural America, and we need to be focused on a lot of these rural areas when it comes to healthcare, because it's not like driving 2 blocks down the street to see your doctor. It's more like driving 65 or 100 miles one way to see that doc. And it's the same thing with small pharmacies. If you don't have one in your town, and we didn't have one in our town for a while, it makes healthcare much more complicated.